Something ancient moves in the heart of the Vergas trails, just beyond the edge of what light touches. Tall, cloaked in matted fur and shadow, with eyes that gleam faintly through the dark. The locals call it the hairy man, and they speak of it not as a fable, but as something real, something old, something watching. When I first heard the stories, I didn't believe them. Whispers around fire pits, barstool talk at the Vergas diner. Folks said it wasn't just a creature, it was part of the forest, part of the land. A protector, maybe, or a curse. They told me it moved silently, almost like smoke, only glimpsed when it chose to be. That it left deep claw marks in tree bark, crushed vehicles with brute force, and defended the woods with a raw, deliberate intelligence. I laughed it off. At the time, I was a skeptic rooted in logic. Monsters were myths, nothing more. But in Vergas, Minnesota, the silence carries weight. And the shadows? They look back. The Vergas trails cut deep into the northern woods, an endless snarl of pine, birch, and moss-covered stone. The canopy chokes out the sun. The ground is soft, too soft, like it remembers every footstep. The deeper you go, the more it feels like the forest is listening, breathing. Every rustle too sharp, every silence too long. It's a place where time frays and logic unravels. During the day, you can trick yourself into feeling safe. The sun filters through the trees, casting golden patches on the forest floor. Birds sing, squirrels chatter, but that illusion fades by dusk. The green turns gray. The trees lean closer. The air thickens, heavy with the scent of wet earth and something older, metallic, bitter, like old blood. I came to Vergas at 28, hoping to escape the noise of the city. I'd taken a job as a seasonal ranger, patrolling the trails, maintaining the paths, logging wildlife reports. I wanted solitude. I didn't know solitude could become a threat. At first, it was small things. A low growl echoing from the underbrush just after sunset. The feeling of being watched when no one else was around. I chalked it up to nerves or wildlife. Bears, maybe. But the sounds didn't match. And neither did the silence. Then the reports started piling in. Campers waking to find their tents slashed. ATVs smashed with impossible force. Tree trunks carved with deep gouges, too high to be bear marks. And always the same description, something big, upright, fast. Something ancient. I still try to rationalize it. But when you walk those trails alone long enough, you stop lying to yourself. You feel it. The weight in the air. The hush that settles when you're being watched. The forest itself seems to change. The trails narrow, the wind dies, and every sound is amplified. Sometimes I'd glimpse something just beyond the trees. Massive, covered in fur, moving with a purpose that was not animal. Not random. Deliberate. I began to carry a flashlight at all times. Sleep came hard. I'd wake to the sound of movement outside my cabin, slow, heavy circling. And always, in the morning, I'd find broken branches laid around the perimeter, arranged like warnings. The line between paranoia and instinct blurred. I wasn't just afraid. I was being hunted. I started digging into local history. That's when I found Legends of the Northern Wilds, an old book tucked away in the town library, gathering dust. Inside were accounts of a guardian spirit called Weesequa, a towering entity wrapped in moss and shadow, known to the Ojibwe. A being of vengeance and sorrow, not quite spirit, not quite beast. Bound to the forest, it protected the land from desecration. It punished those who crossed sacred boundaries. The book described relics, offerings left at the base of trees, cloth, carvings, bundles of sticks. It described weapons made of sharpened branches, trophies crafted from bone and stone. And it described the eyes, always the eyes, watching from the darkness. Locals still followed some of those customs in secret, quiet rituals to honor the spirit, to keep it calm. But many had forgotten. And the forest, it seemed, had not. As weeks passed, The sightings intensified. I wasn't the only one anymore. A group of hikers spotted a hulking shape dragging something into the trees. Hunters found the remains of deer torn apart in ways no predator would. The stories grew more vivid, and the town grew quieter. Fear sank its teeth into the soil. Then came a night I crossed the line. It started like any patrol. Early evening, cold air, wind barely stirring the trees. But the forest was too still. The usual bird calls were gone. Even the insects had gone silent. I walked deeper past the marked trails, where the trees grew older and the ground felt wrong. That's when I saw the first sign, scratches on bark, arranged in vertical rows too wide, too high. Nearby, a fresh pile of broken branches, shaped into a crude circle. A warning. I kept going. The sun slipped behind the trees, and the dark closed in. Then, from the underbrush, a sound, not a rustle, but a snap deliberate, followed by a growl so deep it vibrated through my chest. I froze. And then between two pines it appeared. Tall as a moose, broader than a man, covered in thick, tangled fur, with arms like tree limbs. In one hand it held a jagged staff, made from a branch stripped bare. Its eyes caught the faint light, glowing ancient, and filled with something more than rage. It didn't attack. It watched, judging, as if it was trying to decide what I was. I reached into my pack and pulled out the only thing I had that felt meaningful, a carved relic I'd found near the roots of an old oak, wrapped in cloth, etched with patterns I didn't understand. I held it out. The hairy man flinched, then stepped closer, staff lowered. Then something else moved. From the opposite side of the clearing, a darker presence surged forward, less distinct, more primal. The hairy man turned sharply, a roar erupting from its throat that split the stillness. It wasn't just defending itself, it was protecting something. Chaos followed. Trees shook. The ground trembled. I ran, not out of fear, but because I wasn't meant to see what came next. This wasn't about humans anymore. It was a war between forces older than we could ever understand. I returned to the cabin shaken, bruised, mind reeling. The next morning, the clearing was empty. No bodies. No blood. Just the remains of two broken staffs laid in an X. And that feeling that something ancient had happened, and I'd merely witnessed the aftermath. I spent days trying to understand what I'd seen. I stopped sleeping. The dreams returned, visions of the forest burning, of a village swallowed by ash, and a hairy man standing alone, roaring into the smoke. Each dream ended the same, with silence, with those eyes staring back. Over time, I realized the hairy man wasn't just a cryptid or a spirit. It was grief incarnate, rage contained, a memory made flesh. It guarded not just the land, but a legacy. It wasn't evil, it was bound. Bound by a past soaked in blood, when settlers destroyed sacred land, when violence tore apart what should have been preserved. The hairy man, or Weesequa, was born of that loss. It doesn't kill indiscriminately. It protects. It punishes when needed. That's why the signs appear first, the marks, the arrangements, the silence. That's why the attacks only happen when someone pushes too far. The forest still remembers. So do I. Today, I still walk those trails. Not as a ranger, but as a witness. I've seen the hairy man again, at a distance, near the far reaches of the trail. It no longer hides from me. We share something now. A truth too heavy to speak. I've left offerings. Quietly. I've warned others not to stray off the paths. Most laugh, but some listen. And those who listen, they feel it. This isn't a ghost story. It's a boundary. Living one. Cross it, and the forest answers. In town, people still whisper. Some claim the hairy man disappeared, that the sightings have stopped. But I know better. It's still out there, watching, waiting, protecting what little it is left. And maybe that's the real horror, Not that the hairy man exists, but that we made it necessary. If you ever find yourself on the Vergas trails, and the wind dies, and the birds fall silent, listen. If you feel that chill crawl up your spine, and you sense something just beyond the edge of your sight, don't run. Don't speak. Respect the silence. Leave no mark. And whatever you do, don't look back.